My name's Andrea Stolowitz, and I'm a playwright. I live in Portland, Oregon, and I've been writing plays for about 18 years. Antarktikos came to the Pittsburgh Playhouse through a wonderful Pittsburgh playwright named Tammy Ryan, who had heard about the work and asked me for a copy of the script and read it and loved it and said, hey, can I pass this on to a really great theater in town that might be interested in it? And I said, of course, please pass my play along. And she did, and Sheila read it, and Tammy was right. They really, really liked it, and pretty soon my agent got a call, and we were rolling with it. So theater is often about personal relationships, and that's the fun of it. And I think all of us playwrights are very grateful to each other for the amount of legwork that we do for each other just to get good work up there. The themes in Antarktikos are about relationships, mother and daughter relationships, husband and wife relationships, and as the characters work out these relationships in their own time period and cross time periods, they're asked to investigate the sum of these relationships, how they add up. And of course, in the case of Antarktikos, it also deals with the moments before death, heroism, and creation. One of the characters is a writer and the other one's an Antarctic explorer. I started writing Antarktikos about 3 years ago, and it came about in a sort of a random way for me, which was that I was interested in a bunch of different things and I didn't know how they would come together. And at the same time that was happening, a really close friend of our family's was dying, and so I was investigating Antarctica and Antarctica legend and history and Robert Falcon Scott and journeys to Antarctica. And in my own personal life, I was sort of thinking about someone who's relatively young dying, and the two kind of conflated and came up with the story of Antarktikos. My personal life always affects what I write, and most writers have this experience. You know, I love reading about Stephen King talking about how he writes about something and then it comes into his life, and Paul Auster talks about the same thing. And I think as writers, we are constantly responding to the world that we inhabit while we're creating a fictitious world, and the fictitious world becomes the melding of whatever we're experiencing in our own life and the story that we're exploring in our own heads. And somewhere in between the reality of our own lives and the story in our heads becomes the actual writing that we're working on. I would say writing is not necessarily a form of therapy, but a way of examining questions that I'm thinking about in the real world. What happens when you die and you have to leave somebody behind? Like what happens? How can we explore that? What happens if you are dying and you don't have a very good relationship with somebody? How do you navigate the truth of the relationship, which is that it wasn't always very good, with the fact that you'll miss them terribly, or that you're dying now and you don't want to leave them? What those relationships are and were is really significant, and sort of answering those questions for me in the play helped me answer them in my life, and that's been very interesting. Things that are actively confusing to me, I have to figure out first in my own life and then in my artistic life. So I guess it's one step away from the truly personal. When people see Antarktikos after they've seen it, I hope that they take away, and this is, I think, is kind of a commonality with all my plays, that the prime thing that we all have is our relationship with each other. Any kind of regret that the characters have because they may be facing death or a situation that they can't navigate, or that they won't be able to continue, so they won't be able to continue a relationship with this person, the audience has that ability to continue the relationship with people in our lives. And so it really poses, in the face of death, are all these little petty things important? In the face of death, isn't it better to find the commonalities that we have in our relationships? And then it also acknowledges that relationships are not perfect, that of course we have times where we want to, tear our hair out because somebody's annoying us, but that's part of being human. So I hope that people leave Antarktikos recognizing their own humanity and the humanity with the other people in their lives and the other human relationships they have, because that's really all there is. That's all we have.